Welcome back to Religion's Black Eye. Today I'm going to share with you the final nail in the coffin of religion that was driven home for me 24 years ago at the age of 15. Unfortunately, it has taken until now to finally drop that coffin in its grave and bury it. A quick recap for those that have not watched my first video. I was born to a Christian mother and father, and I was saved at the age of 8 years old in 1978. I'm a former lay minister, teacher, and worship leader of the Christian faith. Moreover, I am, or rather was, a dyed-in-the-wool Southern Baptist fundamentalist, living squarely in the center of the gold-gilded buckle of the Bible Belt. But enough of that. On with my story. It was 1985, and I was 15 years old. My father was the associate pastor of our church. One of the members of the congregation was in the hospital, and, due to her advanced years, she was in her mid-90s, she was not expected to leave the hospital and go home. Her great-granddaughter was one of my close friends. I agreed to go to the hospital with her to visit her grandma. When we arrived, we made our way directly to her grandmother's room. We found her grandmother lying in bed, perfectly dressed. As we approached, her grandmother stirred, saw my friend and I, and smiled. We talked for only a few minutes. Her grandmother assured her that she was more than ready to go home to God in heaven and walk the streets paved with gold with her Jesus. The two hugged. We said goodbye and then left the room. As my friend and I left the hospital, we did so with a truly warm and fuzzy feeling about the visit, as well as a real sense of comfort in that before the end of the day her grandmother would get her reward in heaven. My friend and I drove back to her house. Once inside, the phone rang almost immediately. My friend picked up the phone, spoke for only a moment, teared up, and turned to me as she placed the phone back in its cradle. She said,
"That was my mom. My grandma has passed away."
She began to cry as we made our way back out to the car and then drove back to the hospital. When we arrived in the waiting area, we were greeted by her parents and a few other members of the church. My friend's mother told her that her grandmother was not gone. She said that the doctors were able to bring her back, but that the next time her heart stops the doctors were under orders not to resuscitate. My friend and I quickly made our way into her grandmother's room. This was a very different scene from the one of gentle surrender we had seen within the hour. Her grandmother squirmed in her bed. Soft straps were tied to her arms at elbow level, denying her a full range of motion. When my friend walked up to the side of the hospital bed, her grandmother looked up at her granddaughter, and tears streamed from the old woman's eyes. My friend, shocked on her words, mumbled something unintelligible, and said,
"I love you, Grandma,"
and then made a hasty retreat from the room. As I tried to follow immediately behind her, the old woman took my hand in hers with a strength I would not have expected from someone half of her age. I turned, and through the tears flooding her eyes I could see in complete and total horror, screaming behind them as she wailed over and over again through the muffling oxygen mask only this one word.
"No. No. No."
I managed to escape the old woman's grip, but I have never been able to escape her eyes. Earlier that day she had welcomed the approaching door of death. After dying and having been brought back, she fought to stay. Why? Because when she took a look on the other side she saw nothing. No bright light. No family members waiting. No Jesus on a throne. No streets paved with gold. Nothing waited for her, nothing but the end. I have never been the same. For years and years I have either been a student in or taught a Sunday school class. I have preached messages of love, tolerance, and hope, mindful to stay away from preaching an eternity I do not believe in, because through all of that, I have never forgotten the eyes of one of the most pious, devout, dedicated Christian women I have known, who when she looked into the void, saw nothing. At 8 years old the fear of an eternal hellfire took me to the edge of the water, and gave me enough motivation to get in, and seek the salvation of Jesus Christ. At 15 years old the lack of heavenly choirs greeting a great Christian warrior made me question everything. At 39 years old, I have seen too much to keep feeding a machine that only devours its followers, uses them until they are spent, and then leaves them to die in terror when the great lie is revealed. Until next time, this is Religion's Black Eye, who saw the void in a Christian's eyes.